That is true. And we're going to use that to segue to our next thing, which does not improve family life. So, Kerry,
Bearer of the bad news.
This is all bad news.
Yeah, well, yeah. Kerry, we're going to need your permission to join you on this conversation. So why don't you tell us?
Yes.
What are we talking about here?
Permission
Got
granted.
check for uteri here.
That's right. We are talking about abortion. So Reason Magazine put out an article, I guess it's been a couple of weeks now. There was a federal court that approved abortion medicine, or the abortion pill to be prescribed over telemedicine. And of course, this is all under the guise of COVID-19, and we don't want women risking exposure to COVID by actually going to see an abortionist. And so the argument goes that, they needed to be able to have access to that service through telemedicine. Now, I will say that the court decision only allowed it for the duration of the health emergency. But I wanted to talk about this because I was recently on a panel discussion for the Friedman Conference, which is hosted out of Australia. And one of the driving factors in that conversation was to talk about what sort of common ground pro-life libertarians have with pro-choice libertarians. And a lot of the conservative pro-lifers are really upset about this decision because they feel like, it's their goals have always been to just stop access, right? To stop access to abortion and abortion services. And as a libertarian, I think, in a completely unregulated market, there's no way to prevent this. And so I think that this is a good opportunity to talk about how the pro-life libertarian perspective on this is to look at it from an economic point of view, and how can libertarians actually compete with this and offer more life-affirming options rather than simply trying to put the kibosh on the service. Because that's the incrementalist approach to abortion has only served to perpetuate the abortion industry insofar as they continue to regulate it. So that was really what I wanted to point out, is that the libertarian perspective doesn't have to be, clamp down on women's choice. We talk about how we trust human beings to make choices for themselves in a free market, and the libertarian view should be that we trust women to make life-affirming choices in a free market where we can compete with life-affirming options and services.
So I'm actually curious. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, are you saying that we shouldn't just have better Supreme Court justices? Like, that's not the end. That's not the goal. I mean, I know I'm saying that tongue in cheek because I know the answer.
Yes. Yeah, no, the Supreme Court, man, they, one of the things that I learned when I was doing my research for my debate with Walter Block was I learned about what Roe v. Wade is actually about, because Roe v. Wade was genuinely legislating from the bench. And one of the things that it does, I mean, it's obviously bad law for babies, for unborn babies, but it's actually bad law for women because it talks about a woman's liberty interest and a woman's bodily autonomy, but all of that is subject to state interest first. And so when Planned Parenthood versus Casey came along, Planned Parenthood was saying, okay, if a woman has bodily autonomy and this liberty interest, then she needs more, a greater access to this choice. And the Supreme Court said no, because to overturn Roe v. Wade would put the reputation of the court in jeopardy.
Dead.
Wow.
So
Dead.
Roe v. Wade will never be overturned, whether it's by a conservative court or a liberal court, because to do so would mean that the court has to admit that they screwed up and made bad law.
I think they diminished the reputation of the court by making that statement. I mean, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask this real quick, just so, because you brought this up, and in a way that I can agree with. what sort of resources or avenues or ideas can libertarians push to make life-affirming choices much more attractive than life-ending choices?
Well, see, this is okay. So this is the one thing that I pointed out in that panel discussion, because I basically am breaking down abortion into three different facets. You have the legal rights perspective, which is a philosophical argument, and then you have the legal enforcement aspect, which is, you know, criminal law, and then you have the praxeological or the economic perspective. And basically, libertarians, whether you're pro-choice or pro-life, both agree in a non-authoritarian form of enforcement. So no police state, no draconian crap. And we agree on a freed market. Of course, where we disagree is the philosophical legal rights stuff. And that's fine. We can have that debate. But if you look at it from an economic perspective, and look at the division between pro-choice and pro-life as a more of a specialization of labor, you have a segment of the population who's motivated to provide options to prevent unwanted pregnancies, and then you have a segment of the population who's motivated to provide life-affirming options when unwanted pregnancy occurs. And both of those things are totally legitimate. The only small aspect is whether or not abortion should be considered in that. So even methods, even those options that prevent actual pregnancy are legitimate life-affirming options if it's preventative. And then on the other side, I mean, that can be crisis pregnancy centers. That can be a number of things. And there are actually more crisis pregnancy centers in America than there are abortion clinics. So we're in a really good spot to compete with it. We just don't typically think of the economic side of things. And so we don't think about competing with it as opposed to just shutting it down.
And that comes down to a lot of cultural change that needs to happen in the minds of pro-lifers, to be honest, right? I mean, we have to think about like the way in which it is proffered these days as to we need to get rid of abortion is almost always considered by, let's just say, for lack of a better word, we'll call it the common mind. Here. It is from a legal perspective. Got to overturn Roe v. Wade. We got to make sure that there's, a good Supreme Court justice on the bench. We got to make sure that a Republican is in office, because that's the way it's going to be done.
Right.
Not realizing, of course, that these are the same arguments that have been done for the last 30 years, and we're getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And I think Kerry has done a terrific job. All viewers should know in trying to give an alternative view that makes sense. That is life affirming. All of these things I think are super great. And so go listen to her. She
teaches you new words like praxeological.
Yeah.
You've really raised the bar on the conversation here.
Give her $30 for that one. Jeez.
And that's something I've been, I think that if LCI can do anything in the world of politics to, in the long run, if we can do even just one thing, if it's just raise the bar of conversation in a lot of these areas, then we'll have done something really good.
Yeah. I agree.